They don't want you to know their names. They won't let you see their faces. They ask questions about the historic and current marginalization of women in the theater that get them called everything from masked Avengers to quota queens. Welcome to Women in Theater. I'm Linda Weiner, theater critic of Newsday. And our guests today are the Guerrilla Girls on Tour, the internationally celebrated collective of anonymous arts activists who, with great wit and scary statistics, are, in their own words, changing the world one sexist city at a time. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
And I just briefly to introduce you, this is Aphra Behn, this is Alice Childress, and this is Julia Childs. I need to know more about that. Clearly you take the names of dead artists and or chefs. Can you tell me a little bit about Aphra?
Yes, Aphra was born in 1640, so I am the oldest member of the group. Playwright, prose writer, poetry writer, first woman to ever make a living as a writer in the United Kingdom. I'm known for my kind of bawdy material. I wrote about feminist themes, like women in those days only had two choices, whether to marry or become a prostitute. In 1997, I moved to Brooklyn, New York, where I lost my English accent and became a member of Guerrilla Girls on Tour.
Thank you so much. And when you say I'm known for, don't kid yourself. Alice.
Hello, I'm Alice Childress. I was a playwright during the probably in the 50s and 60s. My most, I guess, familiar work is The Wedding Band, as well as A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich. And I mostly wrote about social issues within the African American community. And that's who I am.
And how sad that we don't see your plays
That's
anymore.
right, not produced.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
and Julia Childs,
Hi.
is this the artistry of the kitchen?
Oh, well, I wasn't always known for my theatricality, or perhaps I was, but it was more of the subtext of what I was doing, since my cooking was the more explicit goal. But since I died last year, I thought I'd take up the cause of letting everybody know that I was a TV personality, a theatrical genius.
All right. Okay, thanks so much. Obviously, you guys have, you girls, have fun doing what you're doing, but it's also quite serious. When you will, for example, go to college campuses or to art centers and set up workshops in even red states, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think you've been known to be, you've been seen in red states.
Yes, we have.
And what do you do first?
Well, we usually do a workshop or masterclass first so that we can kind of talk to the community and get an idea of what their concerns are about discrimination and sexism. That kind of feeds material for our show. So we teach a lot of classes in poster making and sticker design and how to organize protests, how to get statistics about what's happening in their community, and how to form grassroots organizations, because basically that's what we are. You know, we're an all-volunteer group. I feel that we've accomplished a lot in a very short period of time with a small base group.
And you decided originally to be anonymous because you feared retaliation in the arts world?
Not really a fear of retaliation, but more to kind of, we take on the names of dead women artists to highlight so that we could focus on the issues. And so people couldn't say, okay, we didn't want to be hiding behind so that we didn't have fear of retaliation. We wanted to make sure that those names were very prominent as well, so that people kind of look at those names and go, oh, who was that? Yeah. If they don't know, or if they're not familiar with them as well.
And then you don't seem to be like building your own careers on someone else's back.
Right.
Okay, this is a tiny bit confusing, but let's just start it and get it over with. You guys are called Guerrilla Girls on Tour.
Right.
You are a splinter group from the original Guerrilla Girls that began in 1985
Right.
as a protest because the Museum of Modern Art had an international exhibit with 148 men and 17 women.
Right.
And Aphra, were
Yes.
you involved from the start?
I wasn't involved in Guerrilla Girls from the start. I got involved in the mid-90s, and in the mid-90s there were a lot of theater women in the group as well, performance artists and choreographers. And we got together and we formed kind of a little subcommittee and decided that we wanted to take a look at discrimination in theater. So we began the theater push, as we call it, and one of the first things we did was organize a protest of the Tony Awards. Not that we think the Tony Awards are bad, but we just wanted to show that women don't win Tonys because they don't work on Broadway.
Or put the broads back on Broadway.
Right.
Is this one of the posters?
The broads back on Broadway.
Yeah.
So we did posters, we did sticker campaigns where we went into theaters that didn't produce any plays by women, and we put stickers in the toilet stalls that said,
in the ladies' room at the, dare we say, roundabout.
Yes.
I saw your sticker
Yes.
there. Yes.
that said, in this theater, the taking of photographs, the use of a recording device, and the production of plays by women is strictly prohibited.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of
And
raise
the fact is,
issue.
it's funny, but they didn't at the time ever produce women's plays, or they
No.
weren't that season, or
They didn't
were,
that season. We
they
would
weren't
do
that
it.
season.
We would say during this current season, this theater is producing no plays written by women.
And so there's a shaming element in this, right?
Yes, I mean there's
Education and shame.
and a naming of names, which because nobody really wants to, when you ask people, why is it so bad for women in theater, women writers, women directors, women designers, there isn't
Women critics.
women critics, yes. There's not one answer. And so part of the strategy has been to name the names and to educate the audience about you are going to a theater that is not producing any plays by women, and kind of generating dialogue and discussion and interest about the issue.
Yeah. But it's only shaming if the theater in question feels accountable to what we're naming, because it's a fact, And so if they feel accountable, then that's great, but a lot of theaters actually don't feel accountable because they continue to produce seasons over and over who aren't, where they're not producing any plays by women.
I mean, the statistics are always just, at first there's always this instinct of saying, oh, what's the big deal? Aren't we beyond that? Who wants to hear, isn't that quaint that they're social activists? But when you see the numbers, the numbers tell a story that really has to be told.
Yes.
Got any numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Got any numbers for me?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we when we started, we do every year we try to figure out how many plays produced in the U.S. are written by women. And when we started, and when we officially broke and formed the Guerrilla Girls on Tour, it was less than 16%.
Are produced. We don't know how many are written,
Right.
but the ones that are produced, less than 16% in the regional theaters are are women plays.
Yes, and we get these stats from the American Theater magazine. And now this current season, it's 22%. So we take full credit for the
Absolutely.
increase.
That's why you're here. You're a major positive force, right?
Yeah. Well, things seem to be getting better a little bit, slowly and surely.
We're taping this in December of 2005, and the New York Times did sort of pick up on this recently and had a Sunday article about the lack of women directors on Broadway. And nobody seemed to have a really good answer for it, even though there's now, Susan Stroman and Julie Taymor and Kathleen Marshall. But that these, I noticed, were really all director and choreographers of musicals.
Musicals. Yeah.
Yes.
Why is it so hard for women directors to get acknowledged? Forget that, to get work.
And so easy for them once they get there to produce the top billing Broadway shows, on Broadway, like Mamma Mia and Lion King,
Yeah, the
Well,
top grossing shows.
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of been this kind of boys' club where you hire to direct who you know. And if there are no women kind of there at the top and women and mentoring other women to pull them up to the top once they arrive there, then it's not going to happen.
In the seasons we've had, this is the 4th season of Women in Theater, and we really try not to do a lot of hectoring, you know, about, excuse me, but where are we? And
That's
periodically,
why we're here.
yes. But then periodically there will be, you know, oh my God, Wendy Wasserstein really was the first woman to win, a woman playwright to win a Tony Award, and that was not all that long ago. And Heidi Ettinger's the only American woman to ever win a Tony Award for set design on Broadway.
Right.
I mean, set design, and you know, and I asked her, like, does it matter? Are we making a big fuss because there aren't more women? And she, no, it does matter, right?
Yes.
You know, because then you know whose stories are going to be told.
Right, and it's a question of, you know, whose voices are we hearing? You know, the theater, especially Broadway. I mean, there are lots of women in theater. You know, wherever we go, we find lots of theater majors. 50% of the departments or more are women. There are a lot of women writing. Over 50% membership of the Dramatists Guild are women. I mean, it's not like they're not out there, but
and 65% of the ticket buyers,
who are
making
women.
The theater decisions.
Right. So women are out there in the trenches, off Broadway, you know, doing a lot of work. When you get to the bigger venues, when you get to Broadway, the numbers tend to decrease. Currently, right now, at this moment, there are 34 plays on Broadway, 3.5 of which are written by women, and 3 are directed by women. Now, that's not a very good statistic.
Yeah.
And you know, 1998 was the first year that a woman ever won a Tony for directing.
And there were 2 then. That was
right.
There was Jerry
Right.
Hines and Julie Taymor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you know, it just seems that you know, little by little, there are little steps that are being made, but we need to go a lot further.
Well, it just seems so strange that it's an issue that nobody does anything about. That I know there are people who have accused you of being quota queens. You know, that somehow you think that it'll be better if the numbers are better. Well, it would be better if the numbers were better.
I mean, the numbers just kind of reflect.
So we are quota queens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, we have this kind of what we call our 5-minute method of research. It's just so easy to kind of see these numbers. All you have to do is pull out to the Sunday Guide and just go down the row of listings of what's playing, and it's plain to see. So, and you have to do that. You have to kind of present it in this really kind of simplistic way for people to kind of really get it.
And do you get responses from the producers? Do they just try to pretend you're not there?
We do. We we just recently received a letter from one of the theaters.
We do get responses. When we get a response, we are thrilled because, you know, someone's actually seen one of our stickers, or we get good responses, we get positive responses, and we get negative responses. Most of our negative responses are from people that we've named, who are just, you know, you don't know how hard it is, and I'm doing the best I can, and you know, but it's like, then you should understand why we have named you, why aren't you producing any plays by women, and you know, this is a big problem.
Now you have public service messages, you do stickers, you have plays now that you guys go out and actually create theater.
Right.
And I think we might see a little bit of something that you've created.
From the East Coast to the West, women are the best.
We can write a full-length drama on the page.
So why are we not listed? Why is theater twisted when it comes to putting women on the stage?
In the 20s, we had Zoe Akins play about the rich, and with rays from Dottie Parker, it would surely find its niche. But today, there are no rays from women's work that can engage, for you see, there are no women's playwrights' plays upon the stage. stage?
In 1921, the Pulitzer Prize goes to a gal. Yes, the play Miss Lulu Bett was sure to boost our low morale. But since 1921, the Pulitzer has grown dull with age, for just 10 of 86 have gone to women on the stage.
Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright.
Bright.
The women are all writing, and their hearts are very light.
Light.
On off Broadway, plays by women are the rage, but there is no joy on Broadway with no women on the stage.
Yes, there is no joy on Broadway with no women on the stage.
And then there's also something you call the recovered history of women in theater, that you're finding all these women. And how do you go about it? How do you find it?
Well, the research is very difficult because a lot of times women's work and important women of theater, they're in the footnotes or in the back pages of the history books. There was the Cambridge History of American Theater came out maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and it was very interesting to go through it and try to find some of these women. So basically the play is called The Guerrilla Girls on Tour Show, and it changes. We do kind of site-specific versions. We've been to Poland with it. We've talked about women in Polish theater.
You did women in Polish theater in Warsaw.
Stanislawa Szybaszewska.
Stanislawa.
Yes, and
we went.
Julia Child was not in Poland.
Well, she may not have been dead by then, actually. Yes.
We just did a tour to Indiana. We just kind of did a little Midwest version. But there are, once you start delving into this material and finding this material, there are so many women whose stories have not been told and whose work needs to be out there. Namely, the woman who invented the tradition of women writing for the stage, which is Hroswitha of Gandersheim.
Is this the nun?
The nun.
Yes.
Whose plays are out of print, and she's kind of been discarded. So in our play, we kind of do the Hroswitha challenge, where we challenge theater companies to produce a play by her in order to, revive the mother, our mother of playwriting.
Well, when I was reading some of your literature, and it said, who was the mother of modern drama, because we always say, the father of Ibsen or
Right.
But who is the mother? And it was this nun who did plays for the convent. Were they any good, or are they just plays?
No, they're fabulous.
Pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
They're funny?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were funny when we did it.
We always have our own slant on it. Yeah. But we're actually trying to go to Japan as well to kind of really uncover the history of kabuki theater, which many people don't know was started by women. Women were doing kabuki theater long before men, and then they were kind of banned from doing it over time.
I certainly didn't know that.
Yeah.
And in South Korea? What did you do in South Korea?
We were invited to participate in the Busan Biennial, which was a huge art exhibit, and we got to collaborate with a feminist group from South Korea called IPGIM, and they asked us to create kind of a performance art piece that addressed sex trafficking. And so we created visual works, and IPGIM actually did the performance in South Korea last year.
At the beginning, there were books. The Guerrilla Girls wrote a lot of books. Was that the old Guerrilla Girls? Or
Yes.
Yeah. It's like Ray's Pizza here, isn't there? Like everybody, no, I'm Ray's, no, I'm the original Ray's, no, this is the really, really original Ray's. What was it? You said that there was a banana split in the group.
Banana split, right.
And you brought your own refreshments.
Yes.
When I first was on a panel with you years ago, this is much more what you used to look like.
Right.
The Guerrilla Girls wore. I'm kind of fond of them.
Our sauna masks.
I think it's sauna, yeah, and I think the lipstick is a really nice touch.
Yeah.
I was tempted to greet you all with it, but I thought this is confusing enough, right? But why did you stop doing these and start going with the half masks?
Well,
So that we would be able to be understood in interviews like this. I think we'd be pretty unintelligible to our audiences if we.
And comprehension is overrated.
Right.
It's the look.
It's much harder to mask those mics or those masks.
When we split, we decided to kind of form ourselves as a touring theater company, and so you know, we wanted to create theater, and we realized that we had to be more accessible to the audience, because as you can see, this is like one of the first original ways we tried to kind of cut the mask, and it's still kind of scary.
Yeah,
and
yeah, I find you very scary.
And masks, you know, are a barrier between the audience, and we really wanted to break down that barrier. We talk to our audience a lot. We do a lot of audience interaction, and we ask the audience stuff. So Coco Chanel, who is a member of Guerrilla Girls on Tour, kind of evolved the mask and designed the mask into what Julia's wearing. They're kind of getting smaller and smaller, but I still don't think you can tell who we really are.
No.
It's much friendly. You can't smile with that mask.
Yeah.
Mug to the mug.
Yeah, I guess they are. They are. I miss her though. I miss her though. I know that when I was saying, you know, internationally celebrated, I really wasn't overstating this. I know young women who feel that when you guys or the, you know, various incarnations of Guerrilla Girls came out to their campuses, literally changed their lives. And that must be insane. I mean, this thing has turned into an institution in itself. Mm-hmm. Did you ever dream that it would, you know, or being a collective, I would think that you started much more chaotically. And well, what do you do about boring things like copyright and stuff like that now? Never mind? Never mind?
Yeah, I mean, the original mission was always, you know, steal our ideas, take what we have, form your own groups. We really wanted to empower women. It has been difficult maintaining since 20 years activist groups. So I think that the way that we have succeeded is by splitting and by kind of having a new mission and a new focus. And, you know, we did form in 2001, and it was kind of after September 11th that we decided we wanted to meet women around the world. We wanted to know what they thought. We wanted to know what was going on in theater for women in other countries, which is why we made it a point to try to apply for grants and get money to do some international touring, and why we added workshops and master classes so we could actually speak to women and kind of demask in a way, and really get to know you know, what women in theater are thinking all around the world.
Speaking of money, can you survive? I mean, you must have to have a day job of some sort, or is this your day job and the other's your night job?
We all work professionally.
You all are
capacities.
professional
yes.
actresses and or something else in the theater, and that this is the mission part. Huh?
This is the mission part.
I remember not so long ago. It was the first time that the Public Theater produced, and the first time I saw a play by Sophie Treadwell called Machinal, and it was definitely one of those, oh my God, Sophie, where have you been? Are there other Sophies out there we're not seeing?
Millions of the not millions maybe, but there's hundreds of them, yes. When we uncover some of these plays, you know, I always go into old bookshops and I look for the old dusty-looking play books in used bookshops, and I find these gems. I found there's a woman from, was it Nigeria? Zulu Safola, who wrote this play.
It was the goat.
Yeah, it was called The Goat.
The original
and
goat.
it was the original and you know, it's just a gem. And so in our show we try to present these little gems because they're wonderful works.
And are you clear about what the performance history is of them? Why they didn't survive the women? What, Lady Mary Roth? Why did Lady Mary Roth and Anna Branco? One was 17th century, one was 19th century. How come we have 17th century and 19th century plays being done all the time, but we don't hear about these women?
I think that's the question that we're raising, you know, in the piece, because we don't know. There's no rational explanation why, like, 1/2 of the entire population of the world is not being honored, you know, in a major, like, discipline that is celebrated across the world. It's a mystery to us too. So we ask the question by presenting the work.
Yeah, because it isn't, you know, women actresses have complained sometimes that they have to, especially in the movies, they can't get old or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in terms of plays and directing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's content, that's material. It isn't even something cosmetic and foolishly social problem.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found over the years that people are more receptive to you, or is there still the same doors closed?
As Guerrilla Girls on tour, or as
or
you know, I think the doors have kind of opened up for us. I mean, I feel like it has anyway. You know, wherever we go, there really is there's obviously a need, because we do have women that come to us and they're just really so grateful, you know, that we came to their campus or to wherever they are, and speak for them and empower them to speak for themselves. So, you know, there are many people who say that the feminist movement is dead.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Feminism is dead, and they're also not funny.
Exactly, they're not funny. Right. Of course, we're hilarious. But you know, that all of the problems have been solved. That we don't need feminism anymore, and that may be true in some categories,
Some
but
tiny, minute
minute categories. But I mean, obviously, for theater, for the theater world, it's not true, and in many others. So I think that, you know, it's kind of great for them to see that we're still thriving, or you know, trying to be there for them.
And do you think that there is now more of a, I don't want to say style, more of an appetite for social activism in general?
A little bit because of political scene.
Yeah. So that political theater seems to be a little bit more accepted or welcome.
Yeah, I think people are realizing that they can't ride on the coattails of like the civil rights movements of the 1960s and 70s anymore. That we're like 30 years away from that, and we've slowly grown, you know, in my opinion, a little more conservative since that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because really in the 70s there were so many, I used to keep doing stories about, look at all these women playwrights, oh my God, and then what happened to them? So I think there was a lot of progress in the 70s, and then I think it really did dry up, and I can't believe our time has dried up. So I want to say, Aphra, thank you so much. Alice, Julia, thank you so much for being here, and being on the subway in your... No, I know. They actually let me see their faces today, so it was not pretty. Thank you so much, thank you for joining us. On behalf of the League of Professional Theater Women, I'm Linda Weiner, and this has been Women in Theater.